Hello and welcome to the Wicked Things podcast. Haven, the story of lightning is one of the few story series created specifically for younger listeners. This is a fast-paced story full of magic, conspiracy, fantasy, talking animals, and exploration of a primeval world that awaits the listener. We hope you enjoy.
The pull of so much of the island's magical power visibly weakened Keeper. His skin hung lower, and his posture now hunched him further forward. He exhaled, out of breath, and fell to a single knee. Striper, Slick, Slicker, Robert, and even the now-healed wolves all looked to Keeper in awe and respect. All present wept at the selfless act of the ancient being. Many of those gathered or imprisoned here in this place feared his time was no longer for this world. Time slowed to those watching Keeper as a massive black and silver form burst out of the nearby woods. Before anyone could act or even offer Keeper a warning, Charger, the armor-plated Lipizan stallion, trampled him to the forest floor. Keeper's body tumbled through the air. Charger was too swift to dodge as he rose high on his hind legs and drove his iron-jewed forehooves down on Keeper's shell. Everyone held their breath at the sound of Keeper's shell fragmenting under the cruel attack. Lightning slowly stood as his eyes focused on the massive villain. Charger chuckled as he strutted back and forth.
You better take some of that bass out of your voice, boy. I'm just collecting on Shadow's promise.
Lightning looked to his uncle and then back at Charger.
What promise?
He shook his head as the magic sent him subconscious whispers. It flooded his head with images of Charger, enslaving the island under his cruel rule. His stomach turned to realize just how lost his uncle was and how little he cared for anyone or anything Haven could offer. Charger spat on Shadow's lifeless body.
He gave me everything in his passing. The mares, the animals, the forest we're standing in right now.
Charger and Lightning circled one another. Charger watched the unicorn's body to learn how to overcome him. He noticed Lightning's attention constantly wandered to those nearby. This amused Charger as he realized any false attack launched against the hostages or allies would drive the young hero to intervene.
This will be fun,
Charger announced. Lightning prepared for the stallion's attack. Instead, the stallion charged at Striper as she was getting back to her feet.
Come on, hero, save the day.
Lightning moved in a blur of motion and placed himself between Charger and the skunk. Charger changed his target before Lightning stopped above the skunk. He drove himself through the injured forest animals set free by Keeper's selfless act of compassion. The animals screamed in pain and terror. The sounds of countless breaking bones polluted the clearing. The unicorn herd watched in growing fear as the animals they had always protected were being hurt. But many died in the vile attack. "No!" Lightning yelled out as he witnessed the action. He stared for a moment, trying to understand how any one being could be full of so much hatred of life. Charger turned, smiled, and drove his hoof down on top of a rabbit. The rabbit pleaded for mercy, but none was in the stallion. He slowly lowered his full weight, amused with each pop and crack from the rabbit's spine.
Don't worry, little prince. I plan on making your death slow and painful.
Charger smirked. The unicorn herd's confidence in their new alpha was shaken once they realized how much more physically powerful the stallion was compared to Lightning. Side by side, Charger stood several hands higher than the would-be alpha. Striper looked to the twins and commanded them, "Get everyone clear. He can't use his full power to defeat this creature with them all still here." This challenged Charger's plan.
No, you don't.
He barreled across the clearing, trampling the weasels, sending them flying. Lightning instinctively charged at Charger, horn first. He thrust his horn about, trying to land a blow on the giant stallion. He ripped his horn back and forth, seeking flesh behind the steel plates. Multiple resounding clangs announced the failed series of attacks. Charger spun and thrust-kicked Lightning's left hip. Lightning felt the bones of his hip shatter as a sickening and stomach-churning pain ripped through his body. Lightning spat at the ground. "Everyone clear out! Now!" He felt the strength quickly leave his left leg as none remained to keep him standing. Lightning swallowed his pride and lunged horn first at Charger. Charger turned into the attack, allowing it to be deflected off his steel plates. This pitiful attack made him laugh at the failing hero. In a flash, Charger was at Lightning's right side and unleashed a crippling attack on Lightning's ribs. Lightning spat a torrent of crimson defeat from his mouth. He knew the stallion had just broken his ribs on the right side from the attack. His confidence was leaving him quickly as the stallion calculated each attack before launching it. Robert shook his head and blinked as his vision tried to focus after the beating he had taken from the wolf. He lifted himself to his hands and knees. He took a deep breath as he sat back on his heels and saw Striper.
"What the hell happened?"
Striper gestured for Robert to look at the battle taking place. He was disturbed by the callous actions of the stallion he had helped raise and train.
"What are we going to do?"
"We need to get that stuff off Charger. It might balance out the fight if Lightning could hurt him." Striper shrugged, unsure of how to even make that happen. Robert noticed, on the forest floor, partially buried, the knife he had taken from the exploration camp. He snatched it off the ground and close to his chest.
"I can get the armor off him, but I will need a distraction."
Striper nodded. "I got this. Just be ready." Robert stood to circle the stallion. He stopped once Charger stood between him and Striper. Charger lunged in shoulder first to drive Lightning to the forest floor. The blow connected, but as Lightning landed, Striper jumped on top of him. In an instant, she turned and sprayed the stallion in his open mouth. Charger's eyes watered, his vision obscured. His nostrils flared as he gagged and choked on the oily stream of fluid. He jumped and bucked wildly from the surprise counterattack. Robert rushed in and used his knife to slice one strap. He dodged the stallion's bucking. He moved to the opposite side and cut a second strap, causing the armor to fall free. Charger spotted the man through his tears.
"You cowardly traitor!"
Charger kicked back, smashing against Robert's right leg. Robert fell as his leg broke as a near 45-degree angle from the attack. The human's bravery impressed the wolves. The pack moved in and removed Robert from the conflict. The lead female wolf told the rest of her pack to gather the injured and guide the healthy in the meadow. They efficiently followed her orders, saving all they could as quickly as they could. Lightning watched the armor fall from Charger. He knew he now had the opening he needed. He guided the magic to heal his leg and ribs. He lunged into action, but the wounds were not fully healed. He jumped at Charger and cut a gash along his right side. Charger narrowed his eyes and focused on his attacker. He laughed as Lightning landed, his legs buckling, sending the unicorn tumbling to the ground. Charger examined his wound.
"Good work, kid. If you had been at full health, that may have killed me. Might have punched into my heart."
Charger kicked Lightning's broken ribs. The stallion rose and came back down with his full weight and strength on Lightning's back. The stallion paused in a state of ecstasy of the injury he had just inflicted. Lightning gasped in pain as fire ripped through his hind legs and hips. A moment later, sensation left his rear legs. He tried to rise and found himself laughed at by Charger, as there was no strength to be found in his rear limbs. Charger knocked him prone after every attempt to stand and oppose him. He spat on the unicorn.
Why keep getting back up? You know I'm just gonna keep on knocking you down. Perseverance is one thing. Stupidity is something else altogether.
Keeper slowly opened his eyes and watched Charger's cruelty. He forced himself to his feet and slowly dragged his nearly lifeless body towards his pupil. He focused all his magical might on Lightning. He reached out to connect with Lightning. Lightning could feel the additional magic making its way towards him. He opened his eyes to see his horn glowing brightly. Across the forest floor, he could see small arcs of energy being directed to him. Charger laughed as he walked closer to Lightning.
Was that really your plan? I watched your fight with Shadow.
Charger rose up in a flash and came down, driving his horseshoed hoof onto Lightning's horn. The horn exploded, just as Shadow's had. Fragments fell to the ground all around the clearing. Lightning's head fell lifeless to the ground, his eyes slowly glassing over as he felt his spirit leaving. He stood along the eternal shore in the spirit's realm. Lightning looked down at his very human hands. He looked up and was greeted by Slick and Slicker.
This means I failed you. I failed all of you.
He collapsed, weeping between his friends. They embraced their fallen hero and helped him to his feet.
I had to, or we could not make this happen.
He found himself surrounded by the love of those who had fallen before him. He searched the faces of the gathering crowd. Thunder, Rain, Slick, Slicker, and even Shadow were there, among countless others, surrounding him in a loving embrace. Lightning pushed away to hug his mother and father.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to let you down.
Rain reassured him softly.
You didn't.
Thunder took his son by his shoulders and spoke face to face.
It had to happen this way. The next step on your path was not one you could walk in the material world without first evolving here.
Charger kicked Lightning's body across the forest floor until he struck the side of the sacred redwood.
Some hero,
Charger mocked as he broke his corpse's limbs one by one. He caught sight of one wolf, moving others to safety.
You better bring my mares back now. I have a need.
Keeper directed the arcing energy into the soil, causing thorn-covered vines to explode from beneath Charger. The thorns bit deep into the stallion's legs. He turned to face Keeper.
So you're still alive for now. Well, try to stay alive longer. Make me work for it.
Keeper could feel the island's magical pressure rise and pull towards Lightning's body. The ancient turtle couldn't hide his amusement any longer, and a smile formed.
My job was to stall you as long as I could.
Keeper closed his eyes a final time. Charger watched as the ancient turtle's body dispersed in the gentle breeze, like sand falling in an hourglass. Purple bolts of lightning arced down from the sky, striking the fallen unicorn hero's body again and again. Charger turned away from the flashes that obscured his vision of the unicorn.
What the hell is all of this?
Charger demanded. The thunder came next, in a building crescendo of sonic booms. The sound defeated the stallion as the prolonged flashes robbed him of his sight for a few moments. Charger's sight was the first of his senses to return. He looked back to see what had happened to the unicorn. All that remained was a dark, burnt patch of earth.
Ha! No more hero.
He walked to the burnt forest floor. As his hearing returned, he noticed the sound of gusting wind through the forest. What he saw next left the veteran soldier at a loss for words. Hovering about 20 feet above was not the unicorn Lightning, but instead was a winged creature. The horn and hooves of this creature were no longer bone or horn. A jagged shard of crystal replaced his horn. It was blue at the base and slowly turned gold at its tip. The creature's hoof was no longer bone, but was also replaced by brilliant blue crystal hooves. Storm clouds built once again above the island. Charger turned and ran.
That's not fair!
A bolt of lightning struck the horn of the winged unicorn and blasted out from his hooves towards the ground as multiple strikes erupting behind the stallion. Lightning swiftly followed the fleeing stallion, weaving effortlessly behind him. Charger dodged side to side, avoiding the countless lightning strikes. He rushed towards the direction of the shore. He knew the boat there could get him off this accursed island. Lightning struck out and forced Charger to move along a predetermined course. Lightning stopped blasting at Charger with his bolts of lightning. He swooped down again and again to terrify the stallion. This would make him blind to Lightning's true intentions of driving him from Haven once and for all. Charger exploded out of the forest, expecting the shore and the boat to be nearby. Instead, he ran at full speed off the cliff face of the shoreline. Luckily, the tide was in below the stallion. Lightning was not done with him yet. He soared high in a flash, then turned, driving his hooves into the side of the still falling stallion. Boom! Charger struck the water with incredible force and plunged below the surf. Lightning watched as the sea took the stallion below and away from his home and friends. He cast his eyes skyward as a small golden line rushed through the air from the meadow towards the clouds. He turned and flew as fast as he could to find his friends.
Wasn't that terrific? I can hardly wait for the next episode. This is the Wicked Things podcast signing off. Until next time, goodbye.